Out of all the models out there, the Phi family of models is probably one of my favorite, and Microsoft recently released a new version, Phi-4. As a relatively short person, the Phi family of models calls to me because it's a relatively small family of models that actually punches above its weight. It's also an open model released under the MIT license. Like I said, this new Phi-4 model is relatively small with 14 billion parameters, but it outperforms much larger models on reasoning benchmarks like GPQA and MATH. Notice here that it even does better than GPT-4o. They do use a technique called knowledge distillation, where they leverage a larger model to teach a smaller model. And in this case, Phi-4 is actually able to surpass its teacher. But what really makes Phi-4 special is the training recipe and its focus on data quality. In this particular model, they focused on using data that encouraged chain of thought reasoning. In fact, they actually kept much of the model architecture the same as Phi-3 and were able to get these benchmark improvements largely because of these data training recipes. Let's dive in. To start with is the pre-training. Here they use aggressively filtered web data in the first stage. Then in the second stage, they combine synthetic data with filtered web data specifically teaching reasoning. They ended up with this breakdown for pre-training, which includes 40% synthetic data. Then they had this mid-training stage where they used longer context data. And what's interesting is that they found that naturally longer context data was better training data than combining chunks of shorter data to get to longer context data. In post-training, they used traditional techniques like supervised fine-tuning and direct preference optimization, or DPO. However, they did do this really cool thing called DPO with pivotal token search. The key insight here was when you think about a typical response for an LLM, you can actually compute the conditional probability of the ultimate answer being right given the token that you're looking at and the prefix to that token. And what you'll discover is that throughout that response, specific tokens actually play a pivotal role in whether or not the response is going to be right or wrong. Some notable weaknesses with models of this size is that because they're smaller, they're not going to be as good at factual kind of questions. Also, this model isn't particularly good at following detailed instructions, particularly detailed instructions that request specific formats. I'll follow up with another post specifically diving into their use of synthetic data, so follow for more.